Hi, and welcome to Tremco Live, where we're socially distanced but technically connected. This is our capability to meet with you weekly so that we can talk about your design challenges and different construction trends. I'm Marcy Tyler, one of your hosts here in Cleveland, Ohio, and I am joined by my co-host.
And I'm Paul Hoogenboom. I'm the president of the Tremco Construction Products Group, Marcy, a tremendous global collection of both brands and company. Lots of people.
Lots of people, systems, products, all of that. So once again, happy to be here in front of all of you guys, as we will be every Friday.
Yes.
And how are you today?
I'm great, Marcy. It's our second week in a row of bright sunshine.
Yes.
Here in Cleveland.
It
does eventually happen after winter, but it always takes such a long time.
It does. It feels good to have the sun out there. Before I headed out here today, I was looking for my daughter and I couldn't find her anywhere, and she was soaking up the sun outside. So definitely feels good here in Cleveland today. So as we've been on this journey here together, we've gone through a variety of topics, and we talked last week and probably in previous weeks about how we can take a deeper dive into each of these subjects. And this is probably one of those, for sure, that we could have a many-week series on restoration.
Yeah, I think you've got one project that we could probably do a segment on for months.
I think so. I believe that is the case. And what's great is, I believe last week we had a bit of a spike in attendance, and so did the emails. So I'm getting lots of ideas coming in, so I'm pretty excited about that. The feedback is great. We love how you guys are celebrating winding down on Friday, listening to Paul and Marcy. So we're excited that you guys are here, and we want this to be informational for all of you. So keep sending those suggestions in.
Yeah, that's we've always really taken our lead from the field in product development and application, and certainly in here for topics.
Exactly, and that, I think we always say that belly to belly.
Yeah.
This is our belly to belly for now, so we want that interaction. So let us know what you're thinking and what you want to hear about.
I mean, I use that expression belly to belly all the time, and of course when COVID-19 began, everybody said, well, now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So
this is one of the things that we're doing, that's for sure. So today's topic is retrofitting the wall. If you're looking at the screen right now, you're going to see some pretty great new graphics and our logos of our brands. So we're pretty excited to have that. That was just launched this week. So nice new look, nice and clean. And it really does bring about, as Paul mentioned, that great group of brands, people, services, and systems. Yep. So with that, our topic, retrofitting the wall, we wanted to take a look at the state of our industry. So once again, if you look online, Google, research, look in LinkedIn, there's a lot of different topics out there that talk about restoration in particular. And there's a lot of great information, right? So the National Centers for Environmental Information has this great map that shows you what's going on when it comes to billions of dollars worth of disaster repair, right? So retrofitting your building can be due to age, weather, fire damage, flooding, whatever it may be, but there's a variety of reasons, or maybe you just are having a leaky building like our building.
Yeah, we went through, I think in its heyday when it was built, mid-60s, it was a great Class A office building, and then I think over probably 50 years, Marcy, it became Class C. And then we did a walk the talk and brought it back up to both Class A. And I think the thing that we're probably most proud of is we did LEED Gold on a restoration. That's quite an achievement. Hard thing to do, but yeah, the improvements that we came through, both with the energy efficiency, air control, water capture on site, it's on and on and on. If you ever do get to visit us, if you walk up our stairwell here from the first to the fourth floor and then our green roof, we tell the story, the whole rebirth from the bottom up to the top.
So I'm thinking that might be a future segment, future broadcast. And I walked up the stairs to you today, and it's 10 years. It's been 10 years because it says construction in 2010.
Yeah.
So that'll be a great one for us to take a look at. Tell the story again, and then we can look back to see how our building has been and saving energy. So pretty interesting. So as Paul mentioned, LEED is an accreditation for both new and restoration, and the Department of Energy is also have a campaign. So it's called the Building Envelope Campaign, and they're currently looking for participants. So participants would be design professionals, contractors, any customer that's out there listening, if you want to be a part of that. And then they're looking for what they're calling supporters, which would be manufacturers of all types of building products. So Dante, Mary Petrie, and I did sign up recently this week. So take a look at that, and you'll be able to submit buildings and get different levels of accreditation like LEED did. There's another level with which they're doing for both restoration and new construction. So that's a pretty interesting there for sure. The next thing that we've got that we're talking about here on this slide is just, if you think about it, who would know how many buildings there are? So I Googled that.
Yeah.
Over 6 billion buildings, wow, which is incredible. So there's lots of buildings out there, lots of opportunity for restoration for a variety of reasons. Mm-hmm. And then the other statistic that you can look up is that commercial buildings are about 50 years old, which is interesting because when we did our retrofit, it was about 40 years old. Yep. Now it's 50 years old. So we were right on average.
Yeah, I think what we've come to learn is when a building hits right around 25, it starts to show its age.
Right.
And then between ages 25 and 50, you have an opportunity to restore and versus run to failure.
Right.
And really what we're trying to do is, especially we'll do that today, is share how do you avoid a catastrophic run to failure, and how do you, but yeah, that sweet spot's probably right around age 25. People are like, yikes.
Yeah.
Things are starting to not work that well.
Starting to not work. You're probably seeing some evidence of different issues, weather related, water related.
Water intrusion is usually the one. Yeah. You know, I think we said the other day, people don't call up saying my building is leaking air.
Correct.
They usually call up saying water's coming in.
Water's coming in.
Please help.
Right. Which we know air can bring in that water too. Yeah, so it's definitely something to consider.
What's your other map on the in the red there?
So the red map is that whole $1 billion disaster map. So it's a very cool interactive map that you can look at from the National Centers of Environmental Information, and you can look at all the impact of weather in each state.
Yeah, I like this one because I think with a common theme that we're going to really touch on a lot is resiliency. Mm-hmm. And the need for more of that, right? As the climate events are getting more extreme. I think last week we said 100-year events are happening every year.
Every year, yes.
I wonder when they'll call them 1-year events. Yeah. But the need for resiliency, whether the hail balls are getting bigger, whether the rain events are getting fiercer, you're getting wind events, you know, north of 100 miles where you never got them before, getting epic freezes.
Right.
So that need for resiliency is that picture tells a great story.
And I think it could be a whole other broadcast. We could talk all about resiliency. Yeah. There's actually a conference that is all about that. Okay. And all the things that you brought up. So we can definitely talk about that in the future. Just one more little interesting statistic is the fact that if you took the amount of people in New York City and the number of buildings, there would be about 1 building for every 8.5 people. Uh-huh. So if you're questioning me, look that up. Look it up. Look up your statistics. Check it out. But obviously, lots of opportunities for restoration, and specifically, of course, with products from Tremco. So if we go to the next slide here, let's see here. As we all do, if you're watching Paul and I today, you are looking at buildings all the time. It is, I don't want to call it a disease, but it's something we all suffer from. Yep. We are always looking at buildings, windows, caulk joints, all over the place. So we are definitely looking at different things going on there in the industry for sure.
These are all the things, Marcy, that, you know, if you and I are just driving around.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Goofing off, which I don't know the last time we did that. You just notice things in terms of whether they're wide joints, whether it's a facade desperately in need of a refresh, right? Or whether you see staining on a building, which always tells a story.
Yeah. my daughter and I were at the museum in downtown Cleveland, and she's looking at all the outdoor, it was the gardens, and she's like, what are you looking at? And I was looking at the caulking joints on the stairs. So it's kind of funny. Yeah. As we were just mentioning, there's lots of different ways, lots of different products on your facade. And if you are watching today, you are definitely looking at all of those different things on buildings. It's definitely something we do look at all the time. One of the things we wanted to focus on, since we're talking about the wall, of course, is the Revive It by Drive It. So they have a great solution set, Paul, that series from 1 to 6, a variety of different solutions for every single building. So depending on what your need is, in this case, this is an example of a before and an after of what they're calling their solutions 2, which has to do with coatings and finishes. Yep. So this is a great example of how you can really improve the exterior of your building and of course still get some of that air barrier or stopping of water infiltration. Yeah. Because of these new coatings and finishes.
Revive It's cool, Marcy, because there's really no look you can't achieve.
Exactly.
And it's very, very cost effective.
Yes. Yeah. I'm always amazed at the metal and the wood and brick and everything that they can do with that series. Here's another great example, and this is very dramatic, the look before and after. So depending on what you're looking for, you can definitely get another great new aesthetically improved building. And this one, so it's not just office buildings, it's not big, hotels, things like that, even your home. And in this case, this is one of their solutions 3, which includes continuous insulation. So nice improvement aesthetically, but now you're going to actually get that more energy efficient home as well.
Yeah, and I like that they're keeping really the character of the building.
Yes, exactly. The character of the building is definitely still intact. And then as we continue to look at, some of them are about removing. So the first ones is about keeping what's there and just making it look new again. In this case, we're actually replacing and bringing back to functioning and giving it that also continuous insulation advantage. So series 1 to 2 is that coatings and finishes, and then beyond that, you are including some continuous insulation in your solutions. And then that brings us to a whole reclad option as well. And that reclad option of new brick. So speaking of opportunities where we could just talk about new brick, this is one of those. So we'll definitely bring more information about new brick in a future episode, but we definitely, when talking about restoration, wanted to make sure we mentioned new brick.
Yeah, so just to whet everybody's appetite a little bit, I think, the idea of new brick was looking at a brick, which is really, I don't know, we'll argue, is it 2,000 or 3,000 years old in its design, somewhere in there.
I'm not going to fight that one, Paul.
Yeah, but it's very old.
Very old.
If we were to say, what's every negative about a brick? Could we design a quote new brick that would not only take every negative and make it a positive, but could it be also a lot faster to install? And could it be significantly more durable? Right. So anyways, so when we host a new brick, we look forward to telling that story.
That's a little teaser there for everybody for sure, because it definitely is improvement on time and durability. Yeah. So, and I brought a brick for us to have here and feature. This is just one of many options, sizes, colors, and even textures and effects that we have with the new brick collection.
There's really nothing. There's nothing we can't do.
This is a picture here I snagged from Tremco UK up there. So definitely getting pictures from all over and the use of new brick. So we'll, like Paul said, we'll talk more about that, but we wanted to show some great before and after pictures here. This one from Marion, Indiana, it's office building. These pictures are thank you, John Powers. So John Powers is our great subject matter expert when it comes to new brick and that technology. So
yeah, but these are great pictures to really show, the before and after, but bringing something to where, I always call it class A, but to where you're just going to get that absolutely spectacular look, whether it's to match the historical look or something new and modern, Marcy.
Exactly. I think there's a couple examples here that we can just show that. Here is just that before and after. You're going to get a really great clean look, improvement aesthetically, and then of course your energy efficiency as well. This one I love here. because they utilized new brick on the lower floors, and it's for whatever reason they used conventional clay brick above, so
Sure.
it definitely blends in too.
Yeah, a lot of times there's structural reasons for that, because the new brick, one of our requirements was that it would be lightweight, so it would really remove or not place any load on the structure.
Very, very, very cool here. And then this one here from the University of Wisconsin and the Fox Valley Library. So once again, thank you, John Powers, for sending us those pictures, and we will promise to take a deeper dive into new brick.
That's a good example with the university, where most universities will have a common theme or look for the campus.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they'll have had a period of time where they didn't adhere to that, and they like to go back and say, hey, can we reskin a building to match the rest of the campus? And that's a great example of that.
And imagine trying to go out and find those bricks.
Well, you just couldn't.
You just couldn't. And I love this up close view here of it and how great it really does look. Yeah. It's really great. So as we talk about renovation and restoration of walls, and Paul and I mentioned in a future broadcast, we will talk about our building we're in today, but we will also be giving you an update on where the test wall is located and the renovation, restoration of that wall throughout the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of guys that are working on this, planning this out, so I won't steal their thunder. Okay. But a new facade is coming soon.
It's going to look different, Marcy.
It's going to look different.
Which I've wanted for so many years, Marcy.
I know. Every morning when we'd have our tours, Paul would be out in the parking lot at 7:15. We beat you there, which most, I think in the last year you did not beat any of us. We got there before you.
But you could say this facility, it goes back many, many years. And, as they say in horse riding, it's been rode hard and put away wet. So I look forward to that wall looking a little different, Marcy.
Yes, so a great team that we'll give them the credit when we show those pictures. I don't want to leave anybody off or steal their thunder, but just to give that excitement that we'll be able to show that progress in these broadcasts. So I'm pretty excited about that. And really what we wanted to feature today and talk about was a project that if you don't know about this one, we really recommend checking it out. There is a lot of great information on it. There is a YouTube video all on this. And this is a great restoration project that included a variety of things in addition to the wall.
Yeah, but one of the things, if you go on the YouTube, at least one of them speaks to, I think it was somebody that from the area really speaking to, they did not really like this building. It was bringing down the neighborhood.
Yes, I think he said, it's ugly. If I'm remembering.
Eyesore, I can't remember.
Yes, I can't remember exactly. Reason enough to watch the videos to find out what the local's saying about the building. So what's great is we're very excited because today's guest is Larry White from Applied Restoration. Larry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Yay.
Paul, Marcy, thank you for inviting me today.
Absolutely. We're very glad to have you. You've become somewhat famous over here in the Tremco world. I mentioned you a couple broadcasts ago. You've done a blog for us on the Build Meets World. We really appreciate that. And obviously you were a key player in this amazing restoration project here.
Yeah, this was, it was really an exciting project for our company. It was years of development, and we got a phone call, kind of a panic phone call. And you guys talk about everybody panics when water's coming into their building. Well, this was a little different. They were panicking because these rocks, the size of softballs, were falling down to the street 75 feet below, one almost hitting a woman. And so we kind of rushed in, and you can see we had a sidewalk canopy that actually sat there for over a year protecting the public while the building was open, a completely occupied building, while we came up with a strategy to retrofit the building and take care of the rock situation. But I'll tell you, the first time I drove out there and I walked up to that building, I'm like, I've been doing this 40 years, and I'm like you, I look at everything. I noticed the caulk, and it used to drive my wife wild. Crazy. I'd go into a home show, and she's like, you're picking apart the drywall. But anyway, I'm like, I've never seen anything like the exterior of this building. in all my years. And so that was really the first challenge, is trying to deal with something you hadn't seen before.
Yeah, I think in one of the pictures in the video, and I might have it in one of the slides, is the stones are like bigger than your cell phone. So if they're falling down, that's dangerous for sure. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, they're baseball size. You know, we've seen things like, we used to do old stucco marblecrete where they're the size of a dime. This is like a marblecrete, only it's these giant stones. It was built in the 70s. And so the real challenge was, what do we do? First we sounded the wall, we checked everything to see what was or wasn't secure. And then we came up with a strategy. Well, we looked at actually tearing the rocks off. I mean, that's kind of what everybody always looks at. And it would have been really cost prohibitive, and it would have also been very difficult in a public occupied building. If you can imagine jackhammering off that rock. We actually tested that. We went up on the roof and had some guys jackhammer a little spot away on a parapet just to see what it would take, and it was just ridiculous. But what we came up with was drive-it Federalite panels, and part of the uniqueness of that was the fact that we had an idea on if we could actually drill into the substrate. It had a concrete substrate behind the rock, and if we could actually drill in and anchor into it, so we had it engineered. And then I got with Rick Bunning, and that's part of the drive at Tremco. You know, all these people that we dealt with were great, and Rick and I then started looking at different ideas and attaching it. And once we came up with an idea and a strategy and we priced it, we got within budget of the owner. And that's where it really all came together. Well, once we decided on drive it, and the building had some other issues, the owner wanted to replace windows, and it had deck coatings and obviously sealants, and it had some spall repair on some of the existing concrete walls in the back. We brought in the whole drive it Tremco Euclid line because we use these products all the time. We have relationships with all these people locally, and it just all came together.
That's great. I think one of your colleagues, I think, said when you work restoration, it's like opening up a can of worms, right? You're not quite sure what you're going to get yourself into when you start opening up things and start working on projects. So I thought that was pretty.
Yeah. A lot of times, like, we started removing the windows and tying in the weather barrier into the rock and the existing system into the new window framing, and all that became a challenge. The deck coating, we end up going from just doing more of a patch and repair of the deck to just removing it and putting the Puma system in, which was just a great choice for us because of the speed and the quality of that product. And it was funny because we had just done a training for another project for the Puma system that we were doing in Seattle on a restoration job of a high school. And so then when we got to this project, it just really made sense to switch this one to the Puma system as well. But every time you turn around in any restoration, there's always something new. So we did get around halfway around this building and find that there wasn't concrete to drill into an anchor. So we ended up having to little fly by the seat of our pants, but we were still able to make the Federalite panels and everything work because of the lightweight and the systems. And the Euclid at the spall repair was also another really a benefit to us.
So you mentioned the Euclid repair. So I was just showing some of those pictures and how you're going over the stone with the backstop NT, and then, as you mentioned, the Federalite panels. So that was really a key part of being able to reclad without
And I think the other
Great
thing,
to know.
Marcy, is as Larry noted, again, in restoration, it's always an adventure. But every company in our group has a history, in many cases, a founding, all based on restoration. So that is really, if you will, the founding history or really the culture DNA is how to restore something and to an as new or better condition. So I think we're pretty proud of thinking that there isn't anything Larry can't encounter, and we can't find a way to get him to yes.
Yes, that's great. So I know just communication on the job site and working together. How did all that go?
Oh, you know, it was, like I say, we have great relationships with all the local people from Drive It Tremco in the area and actually around the country. But it really helped to have, I mean, it really felt like this came together with support from a national level with Drive It. We actually had the panels were made in Canada, Drive It Canada, and shipped down. We had Josh on site, Alan Browning, constantly reviewing and doing inspections, helping us solve issues. You know, it just, and when we needed them, they were there. And that's really a great thing. You know, if you've got, we get into these projects and you end up trying to deal with 5 or 6 different companies, and it can be a real headache. And we found out a long time ago that we would, it benefited us to work with one manufacturer or group of companies like Tremco that could support us and keep everything under one umbrella. And we've had combined warranties actually for quite a while with Drive It and Tremco in these companies. But that's also a good selling point for us. It makes working through everything easier and really allows us to think outside the box and come up with solutions that other people can't offer us, other companies can't offer us, because of the support you guys get within each other.
And as you mentioned, like Rick Bunting, right? So obviously you've got your local representation, but then there's always a team of engineers and other individuals that support, right. and that is what Rick Bunting, you know, he handles the whole panelization and the federal system.
I think that's part of what's the strength of our model is there's probably, I don't know, I lose count, 12 or 1,300 at a field level, and then they're all backed by, you know, a real strong core team that's then available on a national level. So it's that combination of a strong, you know, national team and then always that local representation.
That's great. So we just have a few more pictures here of a couple other products and the versatility, like getting custom colors of Spectrum 1 to work for the project. I think, did we do orange? Was that one of the special colors we did? I can't remember exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've got a picture of the navel orange. So not only do we have the Drive It coating and the Drive It finishes in the orange, but also we had orange sealants. We had custom color Spectrum 1 navel orange. Wow. And while you don't see it in the joints there, they end up going with the gray for the contrast in the joints and the panels. Anything that penetrated the panels, so you know, a light fixture or a power outlet or any boxes that had to be sealed around in the panels of the orange have the orange, so they really kind of blend in pretty well. But that's it was quite a color to match, that navel orange, but it does make a good accent on the building. And the Drive It colors and the support between the finishes and the sealants and the HDP coating, you know, it all worked really well because we were relying on companies that can work together to achieve those things. for us.
Yeah, I think, again, Marcy, the thing I'm always amazed by, there's really no color, look, texture that we can't match on a custom basis, so that even if you're on a ground floor and you're maybe you and I 6 inches off, we might have a hint because we do this for a living, but certainly the public can be literally 6 inches off this type of an exterior, and it's going to look absolutely flawless.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think we have a few more pictures here. Oh, there's another picture of Larry. We got Larry in action here talking about the balconies.
Yeah, there's Puma.
And the Puma system. So that worked, I'm sure, great just because of how quickly, right, that is able to install.
Yeah, those balconies are always, even in new buildings, it's surprising, Marcy, how often balconies are a real Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And Puma's a great solution.
And it came in handy because you'd already had that training, so that worked out very well from that perspective. And then I think I love this last here. Oh, and here's the stone. Some of the size of the stone.
Those are big. Those would hurt.
Yes, and just that whole before and after, and how great that looks. So
that's incredible.
Pretty significant. Great project. So anything more for us, Larry? Got any questions for us? Any design challenges that you want to pose to us?
Well, I just want to say that I've always appreciated working with Drive It and Tremco, and I think there's opportunities for everybody out there to look at really packaging systems together from a single source manufacturing system like you guys that can work on your projects. And you know, we take a lot of risk as contractors, and we like to have good partners to help us mitigate those risks. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys inviting me today. Thank you, and I hope everybody gets a chance to look at this project. We're really proud of it, and I'm really thankful because I'm very blessed to have a high quality team that really cares about the work they do, and we did win a number of awards for this project, both nationally and regionally.
That's great. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, well, Larry, thank you so much. We'll be in touch soon, and we'll continue to check in with you on a regular basis. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, bye. As you mentioned, Paul, I mean, that is important, right? As a contractor, right? There's a lot of liability they take on, especially with something like restoration. We definitely want to be there for them from an education perspective. And that's why we love training programs that we have for all of our products.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've mentioned this before, but the QAP program, especially, of where we work very closely with our contractor partners to both train and support, stand behind. And I think as Larry mentioned, you're always going to encounter the unexpected, and the fact that we can react very, very quickly from the initial encounter to getting the prototype out. I think that's something we really take a lot of pride in.
Yes, definitely do. So if you guys are out there watching and you have a project that you want to feature, talk to us, you know, let me know. Reach out directly to me. Let me know about the design challenge that you overcame, or if you have a new one.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you have a building that looks like Larry's before building, and perhaps you were intimidated or thought it wasn't possible, we would love for you to challenge us to go on site and look at it.
Yeah, and in addition to what we covered today, obviously in this example, we had the balcony, we had the facade, we had sealants. So we could also do the roof, the windows, the window connection, parking garage. So if there's other areas that you're looking at on your project, we are here to be able to support you for all of those needs.
Yeah, I love this project, Marcy. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, of course. So that'll be wrapping up today's segment, all about retrofitting the wall. A few weeks back, we did talk about glazing options. So we talked about that window to wall, anything related to your glass. skylight, curtain wall, things like that. We discussed that a few weeks back. Next week, parking garage and stadiums.
Oh.
So we'll be talking about that. So as always, we are excited that you guys are joining us, engaging with us. Let us know what questions you have. It seems like we've run out of time for questions, but I am reaching out separately to answer those questions.
So I have one request.
Yes.
Work in a few famous stadiums for us. Do a little name dropping with us next week, because I know we have a few that are just absolutely iconic.
I've got one in particular that I'm thinking about right now.
Okay.
But I know we definitely have a few that we could address. And as I did mention, we're going to have a session all about you bringing your questions to us one of these days soon. So yes, thank you for joining us today. Next week, parking garages, stadiums.
Terrific. See you on our next podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.